Most people hear about East St. Louis, Illinois, when they talk about the massacre. But the massacre wasn't the beginning, it was the ending. So we need to know what happened before the massacre. Well, East St. Louis was growing and thriving. And that's exactly why things started getting ugly. Let's rewind. Back in 1882, there was already a huge fight over segregated schools. Right away, education was a battlefield. We'll learn that didn't change and it didn't go away for another 30 years. So in 1902, this is when the city crossed the line. A police officer, along with a mob, unalived Mr. Ed Brown. That happened right before East St. Louis's population exploded, because in 1904 there were about 50,000 of our ancestors living in East St. Louis. We were there and we were building community and power. That same year, East St. Louis became a meeting place for the National Civil Liberty Party. Yep, a whole political party. They were putting forward one of our ancestors as a presidential candidate. Let that sink in. Black political power in 1904. Now watch what happens. In September 1904, same year, the newspaper called it a riot, but in reality, our ancestors were attacked by a mob for doing their job. Funny how the paper softens the language when we're the victims. Remember that, because it keeps happening. In 1905, something wild happened. Our ancestor, William Scott from East St. Louis, ran for president as an independent. A black man running for president in 1905. And what happened? Of course, they locked him up. The paper doesn't say why, but the Democrats put him to work as a janitor. It was real suspicious. The same paper claimed they were paying him to stir up trouble with the black Republicans. Either way, they made sure he was neutralized. That same year, 1905, 5 black men, 4 armed cops. Shots were fired. One of our ancestors were unalived, another one was badly wounded, and the third was hit in the arm. How many cops were injured, you ask? 0. And history keeps going. In 1906, our community finally said, fine, you want to educate our kids? We'll build our own school. So we purchased a building. White people burned it down. Gone. Just like that. And guess what? It happened twice within a few weeks. Remember this part later, because years later, the newspaper would claim that our family was trying to invade the white schools. So anyway, in 1909, a man named Mr. William James got into a dispute over a horse trade. The sheriff intervened and unalived him. Other white men joined in and started going in on Mr. James too. Remember I told you to hold on to that? In 1911, suddenly, the paper said our children were planning to invade white schools. Listen to that language, invade. They burned down our schools. What were we supposed to do? Just not educate the kids? Remember that too. Despite everything, our communities like Denverside kept pushing forward. In 1913, East St. Louis made space for the Odd Fellows Temple, a huge center of black organizations and mutual aids. And trust me, the Odd Fellows showed up all over my Sundown Town research. If you want a deeper dive, let me know. Check this out. For years, the East St. Louis Giants baseball team was tearing it up. We were the fastest team in the region, winning bigly. You know their parents were so proud. So here we are in 1916, and all the chaos around the schools finally got stabilized. We even threw a school picnic. The kids were laughing and families are together. Well, that same year, there was the largest Emancipation Day celebration East St. Louis had ever seen. The whole community, just black joy everywhere. But then, the tone of the newspapers changed. Election season, 1916. Suddenly, the papers started spreading rumors, claiming thousands of black people were moving to East St. Louis just to vote. Sound familiar? Then, in May of 1917, war was declared on a company that was hiring our ancestors. But in reality, the war was on us.
In East St. Louis, the war industry propels more and more people into the city, including these black laborers who are trying to escape violence and Jim Crow in the South. By 1917, the black population had doubled. We see more white anxiety. This anxiety is about sharing America's resources and opportunities. What we see is that the white people who believe in white supremacy think that only white people are entitled to the resources. In the spring of 1917, White American Federation of Labor members go on strike. Most black people are barred from union membership. The company responds by hiring 470 black workers. This had been a long-time strategy to break strikes. White workers are infuriated. They start to act in really menacing ways towards the black people. The white press is not acknowledging that white people are instigating this violence. On July 1st, 1917, a Ford car full of white men shot into a group of black people in a black neighborhood. Shortly thereafter, another Ford comes through. The black people fire on the car, but it's an unmarked police car. There are 2 police officers inside, and those police officers die. The rest of the larger white community retaliate. They start attacking any black people they see. They're dragged out of cars, off streetcars, and beaten. Mobs started destroying black people's homes, businesses, churches, their schools. One of the more harrowing things we see is that mobs start to firebomb houses with families inside. And when the families come running out, there are armed white people outside who shoot and kill them. And it forces people to face the fire or the gunfire. Thousands of black residents under attack try to head towards the bridge, which spans the Mississippi River, but the police close the bridge. Some people are so desperate to escape, they jump into the river and drown. There are several hundred people who are left homeless. Anywhere from 39 to 125 people died in the massacre. W.E.B. Du Bois goes there to investigate, and so does Ida B. Wells, who writes this really extensive report. She has a lot of firsthand stories from survivors of the massacre. What you see are 2 completely different stories coming out of the white press and the black press about the same event.
Last night was one of those nights where I had to put my phone down and I cried. Researching this stuff, I cry often. I came across a town I was looking on a PBS article, and I found the things that they don't want us to know. When you know these types of things, you can't stay neutral about true American history. This is the biggest trigger warning, and I'll meet you in the comments.
East St. Louis never recovered from the 1917 massacre. People survived, people rebuilt, but the city started a downhill trajectory in 1917. Illinois passed this law. This was in 1905, something called the Anti-Mob Violence Law. And it was introduced by this African-American state senator from Chicago, then had 3 back-to-back race riots in 1908 in Springfield, and then 1917 in East St. Louis, and then 1919 in Chicago. And there were reparations for all of those, but it was a pittance. East St. Louis brought back Mayor Stevens, who was the only mayor during this time period who had clean hands. But once he straightened everything out and issued the reparations, the political machines came back and kicked him out of office. There was never any attempt at social healing.
And just like that, East St. Louis was never the same. After the massacre, massive white flight to suburbs, and then to make sure nothing came back, interstates were built straight through what was left of our community. Homes and businesses were gone. Then silence. Cover up. I break this down in my upcoming book, so keep your eye out for that. But if you've learned anything today, make sure you like and follow. Comment what part shocked you the most. This history is way bigger than we were ever taught.